Our regularly scheduled programs will not be seen this afternoon so that we can bring you the Phillies versus the Chicago Cubs. The pregame show at the Hall of Fame is brought to you by Toyota. I love what you do for me. And by Hoover. Nobody gets the dirt like Hoover. Nobody. Now here's Neil Hartman.
On the shores of Lake Otsego in central New York lies the quaint village of Cooperstown. It has been said if baseball wasn't invented here, it should have been. Welcome to the Otesaga Hotel just down the road from the Hall of Fame. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Neil Hartman. Welcome to a very special 45-minute edition of the pregame show. We're coming to you from the Otesaga Hotel in Cooperstown, New York, where in just a couple of hours from now, Mike Schmidt and Rich Ashburn will be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And we are joined here on this program today by the two newest members of the Hall of Fame, Mike Schmidt and Rich Ashburn, along with, there's Mike. Say hi, Mike. And there's Rich. And also joining us today is Harry Callis. What would be a Phillies broadcast without Harry Callis joining us here on the show today? Well, Schmitty, you got a couple of hours?
Look at those knees. Huh?
By the way, they both
scored a lot of runs.
Yeah, they both just came off the golf course, so they are all the Hall of Famers get together and play a little golf. Well, you got a couple hours. Have you got everything, all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted for your speech?
Yes, Neil, I sure do. But just when I think I do, I open that darn thing up again and start crossing some more T's. And I don't know whether Richie's probably going to ad-lib his thing today. I know if I know Rich, but I have a few things written down.
Well, is that true? Is that true? You're going to ad-lib?
Well, I'm going to wing it, and I'll probably mess it up because I've never done anything like this before. I've spoken to a lot of groups and never bothered me that much. But I think all those people and all my family around and, you know, Schmitty around and Harry around, people like that, I'm a little worried about it.
Whitey's the best off-the-cuff speaker I ever saw. He'll have no problem. You really are. And yeah, I'm sure you're excited about it. But what a great day for the Delaware Valley.
It's a terrific day. You know, Harry, let's take a look at the numbers first with Michael Jack. And what stands out as far as these numbers for you?
I guess I have to be very happy with the 3 MVP awards. I guess there's two other players, Stan Musial, is it Roy Campanella? Mm-hmm. The other two players
what
in the
about
National
the 30
League.
or more home runs? 13
Well,
times.
yeah, that says something for consistency over the long haul. And you know, when you look at that, you start thinking about Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, people like that. So to be in that kind of company is very special also. And it takes playing a long time, 150, 55 games a year to accomplish that. And Richie, I guess you'd agree when you have something that shows consistency over a long period, it's something you can be proud of.
You can hang your hat on it.
Let's take a look at, hey, Rich, take a look at your numbers. Now, you were talking off the top of the show when we showed the Open. Here we had Mike hitting a home run, you hitting a single, but a 308 lifetime batting average. This day and age, you'd be a multi-millionaire.
One thing you don't have on there, Schmitty and I together hit 577 home runs.
Well, he had 548 of them. So.
Yeah.
But ironically, Neil, you talk about home runs. Schmitty used to get more of a kick out of a base hit to right field to drive in a run than he did a homer.
That's exactly right, Harry. It is ironic. I try to hit singles my whole career and was much maligned for thinking that, you know. Just get up there and swing as hard as you can and hit your 250 and your 30 home runs and everybody will be happy. And I felt the road to becoming a better hitter, an all-around hitter, an all-around player was to learn to hit singles, you know, with 2 outs and a man on second, 1 out and a man on third. you got to learn to give in to that pitcher a little bit. And it only took me 14, 15 years to be comfortable with that.
Well, I remember a dinner we had in Cincinnati, not a dinner, but an after-game party that Ben Wensler threw, and a lot of Dayton people were there, and your dad was there, and you were talking that very thing, and your dad said, Michael, they're paying you to hit the ball out of the ballpark. Right?
Yeah, well, that's easy for him to say. He had the frustration of not being a real tough hitter in clutch situations, as you guys all remember. I don't know whether Neil does, but early in my career, Lazinski was known on the team as the guy who they feared with the game on the line. You know, the guy that could fight that ball off over second, hit that ground ball up the middle. Good two-out hitter, a Tony Perez type guy, right? And that's what I always wanted to be. I always wanted to be that guy, but it just wasn't my nature. It wasn't part of my game. And I was bound and determined to make it part of my game.
Which you did.
I think I did. I think my last 2 or 3 years when I was healthy with the Phillies, 85, 86, 87, I think I was a 290, 295 hitter and a tough hitter with men on base.
Mike, let me just get one quick thing in here about your speech today. I thought you did something very interesting. You got 432 responses on the email on the internet, and you actually used a woman from Colorado that you're going to use part of what she wrote to you, what you should say today in your speech.
Yeah, she gave me some suggestions. There were 32 finalists, to be exact, and read through all these suggestions from people all over the world, as a matter of fact, and some of her suggestions are definitely incorporated in my speech.
Well, we'll look forward to hearing that, and we will have a lot more for you here on the pregame show today. We are coming to you from the Hall of Fame, Babe and all. The pregame show from the Hall of Fame is sponsored in part by Nationwide Insurance Enterprise. Nationwide is on your side.
Charles Bronson, vowed to protect and serve the law.
What do you mean there's no chocolate donuts?
Let me check again.
A fearless cop who's taking a serious bite out of crime.
And there were no chocolate donuts either.
Chocolate donut.
He's the only cure for the common criminal. Charles Bronson, Kinjite, Forbidden Subject, Monday at 8 on PHL 17.
I guess I'll have to try jelly.
When they were small, we had a little sports car.
And then they got bigger, so we had to get a four-door.
So we leased a new Volkswagen Jetta, $199 a month. Nice, huh? The German-engineered front-wheel drive Jetta comes with rack and pinion steering, daytime running lights, dual airbags. It's a great driving car.
It's got a big back seat.
And a huge trunk.
Weimaraners come from Germany.
Maybe that's why they like driving so much.
On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
Had they only sampled its precise handling, they might have named it Import Car of the Day. Had they just heard its quiet cabin, they might have named it Import Car of the Week. And had they merely felt its powerful engine, they might have named it Import Car of the Month. But they experienced all of the Nissan Maxima and named it Motor Trend's Import Car of the Year. Lease the Nissan Maxima GXE with 0 down and $299 a month for 36 months.
I can get somebody hundreds of miles away who's not a baseball fan or only a casual fan to be really motivated by anything I say, you know. I want people like me to come here and feel, wow, one of us is in charge, you know. Them to bring the message back. It's elevating the experience of the person who feels it, period. They're the one that's going to go and bring back their children and grandchildren because that's how that's going to happen, so that when the next generation comes along and this child says, you know, my parents took me here and it was great, I want to take my kids here. It was a wonderful experience.
That's the curator for the Hall of Fame. That is Ted Spencer. And Michael, you had an opportunity to spend some time with him. Rich, you did as well, right? He took you around the hall. By the way, if you noticed, here in the middle now is the Honorable Mayor of Philadelphia, Ed Rendell, joining us here on the program today. Big day for Philadelphia, is it not?
It sure is. You should be here. This town is festooned with red, Philly's red, and all you see is people from Philadelphia. And we came up in such numbers that yesterday they set an all-time attendance record for the Hall of Fame.
8,700, I think it was?
All-time attendance record for the building, and it's all Philadelphia.
Well, when you walk through town, now, Mike and Rich, it's hard for them to walk through town right now, but when you walk through town, all you see is Phillies caps, Phillies jerseys,
unbelievable,
T-shirts, And that's what you're going to see, both of you, when you're on the podium today. You're prepared for that. I mean, that's what probably the emotion's going to overtake you guys when you're up there. What do you think, Mike?
Is it? You're starting on me already. Yes, I am prepared and flattered to know. I've heard the rumors, and people were sitting up last night out in the field. It's almost going to be like a Woodstock scene out here at the Induction. And I'm prepared to look out there and see a ton of red. I really am. And I'm so happy that it's going to be that way.
Now, Mayor told Rich during the break that the Mummers are on their way up, right?
Yeah, the Mummers are actually here. They're performing as we're taping. They're performing right in front of the hall itself on the street. Then they're going out to the field where the induction ceremony is held, and it'll be great. I have to say also, Neil, I'd never been in the Hall of Fame, and it's amazing how much Philly stuff there is in the Hall of Fame. Not just Richie and Mike at the top of the escalator, which is for the inductees, but the 1950 Phillies are featured as one of the specialty teams. It wasn't a dynasty, but sort of snuck in there. And the 70 Phillies, there's a whole section for the 70 Phillies. Phillies and Royals who dominated the middle of the 70s.
80.
No, but it's the 70s Phillies leading up to the 80 World Series.
Okay.
No, Michael, I know it's 1980.
By the way, we're going to see those displays a little later on in the program. You know, one thing, you've had the pleasure of working with this gentleman over here, Harry Callis, for a number of years. And is there a better broadcaster in the business today than Harry Callis?
Well, all I have to tell you is that if they would have let us have the guy that introduced us today, I would have had Harry, and I think Mike would have had Harry. We would have been very pleased to have Harry, but they're going to do it themselves.
Well, one thing that has made Harry Callis so famous and so popular in Philadelphia is his call of a home run anytime, any day, but particularly Michael Jack.
3-0 pitch. Swing and long drive. There it is. Number 500. The career 500th home run for Michael Jack Schmidt. And the Phillies have regained the lead in Pittsburgh. 8-6. And the Phillies dugout comes swarming out to home plate.
Harry, we'll hear that forever, won't we?
I'll never forget it. It was the single most exciting moment in my broadcasting career because I've probably called every one of his home runs except for a handful, and so it was emotional.
Leading up to that moment, Mike, that was I saw a whole videotape done on
That's right.
Leading up to your 500th.
Yeah, it was a wonderful day. I've said many times that a better script couldn't have been written to hit a 500th home run, and Harry knows that, and Harry made it even more special. I know Harry knows how Richie and I feel about him, and we've reminisced many, many times about our careers and our years in Philly, and I know what their voices, especially Harry's, meant to my career. You know, he shaped that whole Michael Jack thing. You know, that's him. That's really nothing to do with me. He's the guy that he named a corporation that I have, and he's named a lot of things in my life. I owe Harry more than anybody could imagine that I owe him. And to dress that home run up as much as he professionally did at that time is a real tribute. And like we've all just said, that home run will live forever in Philadelphia, hopefully.
Well, you know, Mr. Mayor, Philadelphia last year had Lefty here, so it's been back-to-back years for Philadelphia, and I'll tell you, you don't see that very often.
Well, Neil, you know what's a good trivia question? Who do you think, I know the answer to this, who do you think the next member of the Phillies organization is to get into the Hall of Fame?
Well, I'm looking at the gentleman.
He's here with us right now. He's here with us right now. Harry will be the next member of the Philly.
We're hoping
right.
soon. But last year it was Lefty's year, and one thing that Steve Carlton had plans to be here, but a card show signing kept him prior to the show a little longer than we had hoped. So we spoke to him last night, and he has some words of encouragement and some thoughts for Mike and for Rich.
Anytime you're addressing people that you've had a long-time relationship with, you know, there's no. I told Schmidt about this, you know, when they retired his uniform. Schmidt, stay away from the emotional stuff. I said, I told Richie, I said, Richie, you can't do it. Don't even get into those issues now, because I knew better, you know, because I know I'm emotional anyway. So I kept it upbeat, and you know, maybe didn't sound sincere or whatever. But I mean, if I were to go the other way, you'd never get through it. You know, once the tears start, it's over with. You know, so But Richie, I told Richie, I said, Scooter tried it last. Yeah, I was sitting right here, and he's over at the podium. He's got a little card that says fans on it. You know, what do you want to say to the fans? And you know, after he'd been halfway through his thing, he said, and you fans. And as soon as he said it, he went, he got, I mean, just not like that. He got overwhelmed. He took the card and threw it away. You can't do it. You'll never get through it. You know, so when you look out there, I'll tell you, you feel it. You know, so it's going to be a test.
You know, last night when talking to him, he said last night when talking to him, he's all calm and cool and collected this year, and he said, boy, this is great. You know, but he said those guys, they're feeling it right about now.
You know, the guy that can give us some advice is this guy right here. What's it like to look out at a mass of, you know, 15, 20, 30,000 people and talk to them?
Hate you. Well,
tell us.
They all hate you. Just kidding. No, I will tell you, you look at someone in the first row and just lock in on that person, let it go. And, you know, I think the important thing is, I don't necessarily think you should stay away from emotions because everyone knows this is an emotional moment for you, and it doesn't make you less of a person. If you break down, I think it shows that you really felt your experience, and I wouldn't stay away. Again, I don't mean to...
I surely don't plan, and I know Richie probably doesn't, on trying to stay away from it. My problem is once it starts, I can't talk.
Well, I know. Well, you know, there's no time limit.
Well,
Okay.
Last weekend, Richie, you got honored at the vet, and you said you got a little more choked up than you thought you would.
And it surprised me because it wasn't supposed to be that way. But when, you know, you look up there and all those people who have supported you for so many years, and then you have your family there, and I don't know what happens, but I got all choked up and didn't plan it, didn't understand it, but it happened.
Well, Mr. Mayor, we want to thank you for stopping by, and this is a great moment for Philadelphia. Have a good time today.
Rich, congratulations.
Good to see you, Eddie.
Michael?
Thanks, Ed.
Congratulations. You both were tremendous credits to our city.
Thanks for coming.
As we head to break, take a look at the other gentleman in this fine portrait that is at the Hall of Fame. Leon Day, pitcher in the Negro Leagues in the 30s and 40s, led to the Hall of Fame in March, died 6 days later. Vic Willis, 13-year career in the late 1800s. William Hobart, who helped found the National League in 1876. Those are this year's inductees. We'll be back in a moment.
We asked Toyota Camry owners. And guess what they said?
Certainly. Oh, yeah.
In fact, 95% of Camry owners said yes, they'd buy another one. As for the rest of you, right now you can lease a Camry for just $199 a month. $199 a month. Or get 2.9% financing when you buy Camry. So, would you buy a new Camry too?
Certainly. Oh, yeah. For sure.
Choice cars, choice deals, only at your Toyota dealer now.
First, I figured I'd forgotten where I'd parked. And then I knew. I called my husband, the police, and Ken, my nationwide insurance agent.
Willie was upset. You don't get your car stolen every day.
2 days later, my car showed up.
Broken windows, scratches, I mean, nothing major.
It wasn't a pretty sight, but the check sure was. Ken got it to me the next day.
Helping someone, it's a good feeling. That's why I'm a nationwide agent.
Nationwide is on your side.
Every year, thousands of accidents occur because drivers momentarily take their eyes off the road. To help prevent this, our engineers have spent countless hours perfecting the Nissan Maxima's ergonomics. Shapes have been scrutinized, and key buttons have been sculpted to be recognized by touch alone. At Nissan, the slightest detail counts, because on the road, the slightest second counts. Lease the Nissan Maxima GXE with 0 down and $299 a month for 36 months.
When they see this particular artifact, they remember the event. They see it in terms of their own life. You know, oh, I was in grammar school then, or that was the year I did this, or did that. There's real baseball fans do that. They relate points in their life to what they experienced with the game, and you'll see that. You'll see the parents or grandparents interacting with their children and grandchildren, explaining, you know, things about their life. You know, I remember when this happened, or saying, "Did you know that this guy could do that? This guy did do that." You know, it's a neat thing. It shows how baseball does bind the generations.
Well, once again, that was the curator for the Baseball Hall of Fame here in Cooperstown. That is Ted Spencer. I'm Neil Hartman. Harry Callis, along with the newest inductees into the Shrine. Later today, Mike Schmidt and Rich Ashburn. Whiz Kids, 1950s. Good time, huh?
Great time. I mean, we were all young, doing what we wanted to do. We were winning. Hey, that's the best of the whole operation in baseball. That's what you try to do, is win. And I don't know why we didn't win a pennant after that, because we were so young at the time. I was 20, 21, 22. Robin Roberts was 24. Kurt Simmons was about 21. Granny Hamner, Dell Ennis, Dick Sisler. Great days. Never forget them.
You know, Harry, this gentleman right here, for years, I know the Veterans Committee elected him to the Hall of Fame, but for years, everybody was making the argument in Philadelphia that he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. And he played in an era where there were so many quality center fielders, and that obviously hurt Whitey.
Willie, Mickey, and the Duke, but he was the quintessential leadoff man. I think maybe even the writers who vote don't consider defense. How about him in the record books for putouts, like most years leading the league in putouts? And a ball hawk, did everything a leadoff man could do. His on-base career, on-base percentage, 20 points higher than Pete Rose, and there's no question that he deserved to be in a long time ago, but we're thrilled that it's now anyhow.
Now, Mike, he was a broadcaster during your career. Did you ever sit down and talk with Rich and say, hey, you know, talk about that?
How could I help him?
I don't know. In the beginning, I think in the early years, Rich, I think you and I were a little bit adversarial when it came to hitting. In the early days, when I was a young guy. Well, I don't know that...
I believe that was all on your part, not mine. You know.
What I'm saying is I think you were more from that school of don't try to think and hit. Just, you know, let it happen. And I was more from that school of, hey, I got to think through this whole thing, every pitch. And you were... as I remember,
I know what you're getting at. Yeah, we did talk about that.
Right.
But you know, when the pitcher lets go of the ball and it gets to the plate, that's 2/5 of a second, Mike. What are you going to think about?
My whole life flashes before me. But as years went on, I think we became a lot closer as friends, gin buddies on the airplanes. We got to know each other a lot more. We played a lot of golf together, and you know, the thing that you may have left out, you didn't leave it out, but Richie had more hits than anybody in the 50s.
That's
Most
right,
hits in the decade of the 50s. Can you imagine nowadays?
Ball players in the 50s, though.
Can you imagine nowadays if you had the most hits in the decade of the 80s or the decade of the 70s? You'd be a lock for the Hall of Fame, would you not?
Well, you know, one thing I want to bring in here, because Harry and I were talking about this before the show, you took such an intensity, and you brought this up just a couple minutes ago, intensity to the ballpark. But Harry, off the field, you got to know Michael.
You just talked about gin rummy. We used to have gin rummy card games on the plane and golf, and you seem so much more relaxed and happy and having a good time in those situations, taking me to try to mix and match my shirts and ties. I'm sorry you failed, obviously, but that sort of thing, you seem to have a good time doing that.
Yeah, I had a wonderful time. I love life, and as the guys that I think that get to know me, people that know me behind the scenes probably understand that. I've fought that image thing my whole life in the city of Philadelphia. And I know that a lot of it is my fault. It's the perception that people get of me. But I was just that way at the ballpark, on the field. You know, I had that tendency to play with those blinders on and maybe not to be as outgoing and be as fun of a guy for the fans to watch. My style was just not the style that I needed to have to win the fans of Philadelphia over. I'm sorry about that. I can't change it. I was always myself, you know, but it was probably the one thing in my career that I wish might have been different. The way that I went about it, I wish might have been a little different.
Well, when you went to the ballpark, you were all business. I mean, you got there and you were preparing for the game.
Isn't there anybody like that now?
Yeah.
I mean, am I the only guy that was like that?
They still take time, you know, to joke and laugh in the clubhouse and that sort of thing. But, I mean, you were very intense in preparation for the
Well, I'll tell you what, let's continue talking with Mike Schmidt and also Rich Ashburn just a couple of hours before they are enshrined into the Baseball Hall of Fame. We are in Cooperstown, New York. This is Induction Weekend, and we will continue on the pregame show.
We asked Toyota Corolla owners. You bet they were. Certainly. Oh, yeah. 95% of Corolla owners are satisfied with their Corolla. As for the rest of you, now you can save up to $1,300 with incentives and option savings when you buy Corolla. Or lease Corolla for a low $189 a month. $189 a month. So, you want to drive Corolla too? Certainly. Choice cars, choice deals. Only at your Toyota dealer now.
Introducing the lineup of Phillies Legends Photo Ball baseballs. Play ball! Collect all 5 at Burger King for only $2.99 each. Here's the play-by-play on how. Slide into your participating Burger King restaurant. Buy any large sandwich value meal. Run home with one Phillies Hall of Fame legend. Let's replay, slide, buy, score! Collect a different ball each week for just $2.99. Only at Burger King and only for a limited time. Get your burger's worth. What a steal.
When they were small, we had a little sports car.
But then they got bigger, so we had to get a 4-door.
So we leased a new Volkswagen Jetta, $199 a month. Nice, huh? The German-engineered front-wheel drive Jetta comes with rack and pinion steering, daytime running lights, dual airbags. It's a great driving car.
It's got a big back seat.
And a huge trunk.
Weimaraners come from Germany.
Maybe that's why they like driving so much.
On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
Welcome back to the pregame show in Cooperstown, New York. That is the 1980 display at the Hall of Fame. You see Pete Rose's jersey and also Mike Schmidt's bats and Lefty's jersey as well. 1980. What a year that was, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, for all of us. For all of us. I'm sure you have a ring on right there, don't you?
Yeah.
Mine's up in the room.
And it was 80 was a culmination. We had been to the playoffs for so many years before that 80 was like the culmination of finally getting over the hump and through the National League Championship Series and into the World Series. So
that's for sure. The pressure was on not to let it happen again in the playoffs, and we tried, didn't we? We surely tried.
That series in Houston was unbelievable.
You know, earlier we talked about great center fielders during your era. How about third basemen? Michael Jack, any doubt that he's the best?
There's some great ones that I've seen. I've been around a lot longer than Mike, but yeah, there was Eddie Matthews, of course, Brooks Robinson. I think Ron Santo was as good a third baseman as I've seen, you know, hitting and fielding. But I've told this to Mike. He's the best all around that I've seen. I told him one time that I thought Eddie Matthews was a better hitter, and he was shocked by that. But all around, fielding and hitting combined, no question, Mike.
Best range to his left of any third baseman I've ever seen. He went to his left so well that it enabled Larry Bowa to cheat towards second base, and hence a lot of double plays with the best range to his left I ever saw.
How about all the diving, Mike? The way you're diving for balls.
I just love the dive, you know.
Hey,
Every time the ball was hit, I'd love to dive for it.
He was great on those foul pops down the left field line, too. Long run, near the stands, reaching out and plucking them out of the air.
I might have dove more if we weren't playing on that AstroTurf. There was something about the AstroTurf that didn't look so inviting to dive on. You remember the years when we played in Philly, it wasn't too spongy. There were a lot of years there where it was pretty hard.
Like cement.
I don't know. It was something, you know, I had shoulder separation early in my career, my left shoulder, when I first came up in '72. In fact, had to stay in Florida. And when I dove for a ball, if I would ever land like this, my shoulder would be knocked out of socket. And I was always protective of my shoulder. And I think that was one reason that I was a little leery to dive for a ball.
Well, I'll tell you what, one great third baseman, no question, was Brooks Robinson, but the mantle was then handed over to Mike Schmidt. Take a look at this, please.
Robinson was the benchmark, a third baseman, you know, during that period. But Mike brought it to another level. Not only could he play the game in the field, but boy, he could just flat out hit. But he didn't embarrass anybody in the field as well. I mean, he was just very well-rounded. Period. You know, he was about as perfect as you can get at a position, knowing that you make errors and you make mistakes, and but that he played it with a great deal of dignity and pride, and he inherited the mantle of Brooks Robinson as the major league, premier third baseman. you know, and wore it well until it was time to pass it on.
On the Wayans brothers, Marlon dragged Sean into the taxi business.
Introducing Afro Pick You Up.
Now they're facing the mean streets.
We don't have one customer. That's because we ain't go with the black people. Balling where in Harlem. Where you want to go, Zimbabwe?
The Wayans brothers. Then, on Unhappily Ever After, there's a hunk in the house, a man of many conquests.
Most of the women in this neighborhood.
Really?
Wednesday, beginning at 9 on PHL 17.
Had they only sampled its precise handling, they might have named it Import Car of the Day. Had they just heard its quiet cabin, they might have named it Import Car of the Week. And had they merely felt its powerful engine, they might have named it Import Car of the Month. But they experienced all of the Nissan Maxima and named it Motor Trend's Import Car of the Year. Lease the Nissan Maxima GXE with 0 down and $299 a month for 36 months.
Know which car is the best? Toyota Tercel. Not surprising, 79% of Tercels ever sold are still on the road. Right now, with option savings and cash back, you could save up to $1,250 on this number. And get 2.9% financing or low lease payments on Tercel. So, what car are you going to drive?
Tercel all the way.
Choice cars, choice deals. Only at your Toyota dealer now.
On Renegade, Reno's after a deadly black belt on the loose.
He has this power. He's gonna kill me.
Tonight at 7 on PHL 17.
It was a different time. Everybody in America had their part to play, and the baseball players were no different. Some guys gave up their careers for it. They went into the war in their prime, and by the time the war was over, their prime was left in the South Pacific, you know, or in Europe somewhere. It was a great sacrifice, and not as obvious as the sacrifice made, you know, by the people who didn't come back at all. But it also showed how baseball, like all elements of the country, you know, pulled together. Between the major leagues and the Negro leagues, we have a list of over 530 players who went to war. That's a lot of guys. It's an incredible amount of people not doing what they want to do.
Well, that is curator for the Baseball Hall of Fame, Ted Spencer, once again, and we are joined by former teammate of yours, Robin Roberts, 1976 inductee into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He, too, just fresh off the golf course here at the Otastaga Hotel. Here's a gentleman that won six straight years, 20 wins or more. A terrific accomplishment, and again, elected into the Hall of Fame in 1976. And there's a look at one of your baseball cards from the 1950s.
I think I got about 28 of them out there, so if anyone wants to get them. I don't have any of them. I'm not into those cards too much yet.
Well, talk about your friend right here to my left, Rich Ashburn, and your days together. You spent a lot of time together in the 50s.
He was too short. He couldn't catch the balls that were going over the fence, but other than that, he did a good job.
What would you recommend, or what recommendations, or what have you told Whitey about this whole ceremony that he's about to embark later?
Well, I think you feel how fortunate you are. You know, when you play, you don't even think about the Hall of Fame. They may now because it's so publicized, but when I played, I never gave one thought to it. And when I left baseball, after about 3 or 4 years, then you realize that you might be involved with it. And it's a great thrill. You reflect on all the people that helped you and all your teammates, and the hard work and the fun you had doing it. You know, baseball to us in that time, well, my dad was a coal miner, so I knew what work was just by observing, and I just couldn't imagine making a living playing baseball, and to be able to do it was just a fantastic dream, and I can't tell you how much I enjoyed it. And I think Whitey had the same attitude, and that's the way we played. We had fun, and we played hard, and it was really a good experience.
Let me just touch on what we saw just a moment ago about the baseball on list that is a new display at the Hall of Fame here in Cooperstown. You came after that era, World War II.
Right, I was in the war. I was in the war, but I didn't miss any. I was in college, and then I went for a year, and then I went back to college, but I didn't miss any baseball because of the war.
What was that era like, though, Whitey, playing baseball right after the war?
I couldn't believe it. They drafted me, and the war was over. In fact, you should know this, Neil, that I told this to my children, that the day I was drafted, the Japanese surrendered.
Is that a true story?
That's a true story.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you know that, Harry?
Yes, I do that. I heard that story before.
But I didn't go in. I didn't go in.
So, Mr. Ashburn, no, we're done. We give up.
But that was a time when baseball. You know, I saw the letter FDR wrote to Mountain Landis, the commissioner at the time, saying, "Hey, we need baseball." During that time, it was a time where baseball, I guess, people were looking for baseball to lift everyone's spirits.
Hey, Ted Williams went in twice. He went in also in the Korean War. I think he lost about 6 or 7 total years as a Navy pilot, and a good Navy pilot. He flew the old bent wings, they called them. But think of he lost 7 prime years in the service. Think of the home run records that he would have broken.
Unbelievable. Robin, talk a little bit about the years of waiting for Whitey to get into the Hall of Fame. Was there any doubt in your mind that he would get into the Hall?
Yeah, there always is. When the writers don't vote you in, which is the first
Regular
way,
process,
yeah,
right.
and that up to the Veterans Administration or Veterans Committee. Well, you got to. It's like running for political office. You got to get enough votes, you know, and once you up for so many years, and then they cut that back where they only put in 1, and when that happens, that puts a lot of strain on a veteran guy getting in there. They only pick 1 a year. Before they could pick as many as got the votes, you know. But you know, it was just one of those things. Like Reese and Shane Deese and Rizzuto and the rest of those guys, their style was different, their contribution was different. They're often overlooked by writers.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're playing baseball, if you don't have those kind of guys, you're not going to win. It's like Boa was for years with the Phillies. Now, Boa is not even considered for the Hall of Fame, you know. And the thing about him is those that watch the Phillies don't know what an important part Larry was at that ball club, but he's not even considered for the Hall of Fame.
We will continue our discussion. The Hall of Famers are all here in Cooperstown. Robin Roberts joining the 2 newest inductees. Later today, they'll be enshrined in that building at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown.
Nobody does it like you, the way that you do. Nobody's got the power to please me. Nobody does it like you, puts it all together better to make it easy. Nobody does it like you, Hoover. Nobody does it like you.
For 4 days and nights this August, the grounds at the Core State Spectrum will be turned into a festival-like atmosphere. This second annual barbecue extravaganza features the finest local and national restaurants. Every evening features a nationally known act and a different musical theme. An exciting variety of children's games, sports activities, food, and music will make this a weekend you won't forget. Bud Ice Light's Backyard Barbecue and Music Festival, August 3rd through the 6th. You don't want to miss it.
Last Saturday, my wife Lisa and I went shopping. You know, we're not paying any attention. That's when it hit me. What would happen to our family if Lisa weren't around anymore?
Well, recently I've been trying to get Dave and Lisa to review their life insurance.
We then called Kim. She's our nationwide insurance agent.
Lisa now has the life insurance she needs.
Sometimes I think about what almost happened. But thanks to Kim, I don't worry about what might happen.
Nationwide is on your side.
We did have Mike and Richie up here earlier this spring, and the same thing has happened with other inductees in the past. I think all of a sudden they realize that what a big part of American history they've been involved in. And Mike himself stopped me right in the middle of the tour and said, I just never realized how much history there is to this game.
You know, we were talking earlier, Mike, about how you walked around last night with your dad, and it's special when you walk through that building and you see all these things that bring back a lot of your past.
That's right, Neil. It's all about family. You know, fathers, sons, and then the next generation. We were in the World Series display last night, and we came upon a World Series program. 1961, Reds, Yankees. I'm looking at it and I go, Dad, we were there. You know, and my dad is a quiet guy, and there we were reminiscing, father, son, about a little display in the Hall of Fame. It's a wonderful place. Baseball needs to do more here and be here more often. Baseball players need to, the current day players ought to have to come through here before they play their first game. They really should. I should have had to early in my career. We played that game here in '76, but never had an appreciation for the place like I have now. What history, it really needs to be seen by the current players.
Whitey, how about your tour through the Hall of Fame?
Well, I've been through it. I've been up here 2 or 3 times before, and it was really impressive. You know, all these guys that are in the Hall of Fame now and who keep coming up here, I played either with or against. Well, Robin's the only one I played with. Well, I played with Ernie Banks, too, and Billy Williams, but it's so impressive to know that you have, you know, been through this. I don't think, Robin made a good point. You don't realize it at the time. You don't even think about it at the time. I didn't think about it either. But this is an awesome weekend in a great little village.
Robin, they're just about ready to go through it. What was it like for you when you got up to that podium to accept the award?
It's unbelievable. You can't explain it. It's kind of like any kind of a thing, the emotion connected with it. How you're going to react, you don't know. I went in behind Bob Lemon, and Bob was so composed and gave such a beautiful speech. In fact, we were rained out at the time. We were rained and had to come inside the Otesaga to have the thing. But Bob was so good, I couldn't hardly do much other than to say Bob's said a lot of things that I would love to have said, and I agree. It's like Mantle saying I agree with what Casey said. I almost was in the same situation, but it's very emotional. My parents were both gone before I went in, so that emotion wasn't there, but it would be difficult.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's just a couple of hours away. Whitey, enjoy yourself. We thank you for coming by. Robin Roberts as well, thank you. Michael Jack, enjoy yourself today, and it's going to be special, isn't it, Harry?
It is a special day. It really is.
Well, for all 3 of these living legends right here, and for another living legend who we look forward to going into the Hall of Fame soon, and we'll look forward to that as well. I'm Neil Hartman. For everybody here at the Otesaga Hotel in Cooperstown, New York, we want to thank you for joining us on the pregame show. Coming up next, the Phillies take on the Cubs from Wrigley Field in Chicago. We will be back next week. Thank you again, and have a wonderful day.
The pregame show at the Hall of Fame was brought to you by the Nissan Maxima. It's time to expect more from a car. And by Hoover. Nobody gets the dirt like Hoover. Nobody. Now stay tuned for the Phillies and the Chicago Cubs.